Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are across the world. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar, Maximizing Search's Impact on UX by Upgrading Fusion 5. This is an opportunity for us to present to our LucidWorks customers an exciting new release of the product, Fusion. And I'm Tom Aliotti. I'm your Vice President Enterprise Sales with LucidWorks. And I'm joined today by my colleague, William Sang, who's a Director of Sales Engineering. As I said before, this is a webinar to our customers, and we thank you for your support and business to help you understand the advantages of Fusion 5 over earlier versions of Fusion or Activio that you might be using today. So before we begin, I have a few housekeeping items. We're recording this presentation and it will be available after today. The slides will also be available after the webinar is completed. And if you can, please open the attendee chat widget on your viewing console. Our presenters will be logged in to converse and answer questions throughout the presentation. And if you need any technical assistance, please reach out through the Q&A. So with that, I'd like to now introduce William Sang, our Director of Sales Engineering, and he will get started with today's presentation. Thank you, William.
And awesome. Thanks, Tom. Welcome, everyone, to this webinar covering Fusion 5. As introduced earlier, my name is William Sang, and I'm one of the leaders of the sales engineering team here at LucidWorks, and I work closely with Tom on many accounts. I'm from the Chicago area. I've been working with search and discovery as my primary discipline for over 11 years now, and that's basically since the beginning of my professional career. I started with Fast, got into SharePoint, eventually found my way to Solar, and then 6.5 years ago got picked up by LucidWorks. So I'm really excited to dive into the content we have prepared for you today, so let's get started. So when I joined LucidWorks, Fusion 1.2 had just released, and that's not even listed on the slide, so yeah, it's been quite a while. I remember I was so excited when Fusion 3 finally released, and this was the beginning of our journey into machine learning as a company, and with machine learning becoming a crucial part of ranking results in search. Fusion 4 expanded on all of this. It brought in additional features around enhancing relevancy through additional machine learning jobs, as well as the expansion of use for signals, which we're going to talk a lot about throughout this entire webinar, with the adaption of query rewrites. So with Fusion 5 is the evolution of this vision that we started with Fusion 4, right? And this vision just said a search engine is no longer enough. Fusion has now evolved and is fully integrated with multiple machine learning models and AI functions. And the search engine itself, it's there, right? It's your baseline for relevancy. It is now fully enhanced by AI. We recognize that all things search also had to be all things machine learning. On top of that, we also wanted to give business users in Fusion 5 peace of mind and ease of use in order to curate the results to whatever they want them to be, right? So although machine learning is definitely the heavy lifter of data, right? Manual intervention and user interpretation is absolutely welcomed and encouraged within Fusion 5. So while this list actually looks kind of small now that I look at it within the presentation, right? Each one of these data points and each one of these machine learning models actually has probably anywhere from 2 to 5 variants, right? And Fusion 5 is just absolutely stacked with machine learning models for your use, right? Each model is unique in tackling different use cases and different problems with not only your data, but how you recognize things like intent in queries, right? And none of these specifically solve any of your problems, right? We actually have a data science toolkit, right, which has this bring your own model integration that allows your own data scientists to bring their own models into the fold, right? It also allows our data scientists to do the same thing, right, and to be able to deploy models quickly and further enhancing the potential that Fusion brings to both your enterprise and your customers' needs. So we've talked a lot about, kind of where we are at and where we've gotten, right? So where potentially are we going, right? So at this point, what does our roadmap look like? So we've architected Fusion 5 in a way that allows for continuous improvements on individual aspects of the product, right? So once you're actually on Fusion 5, the latest and greatest AI and ML model is a simple upgrade away, right? Issues with any connectors or any data ingest that you might be seeing, again, just requires updating to the latest connector build. And towards the end of this presentation, we'll discuss what that all entails, right? And what's going on underneath the hood of Fusion 5 at a high level, right? To talk about what cloud readiness looks like for LucidWorks and Fusion, right? We're committed to not only allowing our customers to create the best search experiences for your users, but we also want to be able to create more and more solutions and features within Fusion that are easy to turn on and easy to access tomorrow, right? By keeping new modern day architectures in mind, right? So if you have any questions, right, feel free as I'm talking to put them into the chat. If I see something that's easily answerable, I will get to that right away. If not, we'll have a short QA at the end of the webinar. And during that segment, I'll try to address as much as I can. So before jumping into like our main topics of the day, there are two specific integrations that I wanted to bring to your attention as our current customers. Right? The first is our advanced linguistics package, and this extends what's out of the box with Fusion and adds additional capabilities around how non-English languages are analyzed and evaluated, right? So if you have any issues currently or any deep requirements that say, hey, I must have the best foreign language analyzers and I must have them today, right? This capability was made possible by our partnership with Basis Technologies. It supports over 55 languages for identification, as well as 32 languages for analysis and tokenization, right? A whole suite of languages for you to be able to turn on and use within Fusion 5 and be able to access right away. As I mentioned before, and for the devs that are in the audience today, right, the developer toolkit is specifically designed for the data scientist or the advanced search engineer to get the most out of their back-end machine learning output, right? So what does this mean, right? Our goal is to provide a foundation for stable and production-ready machine learning, right? This framework allows you to deploy custom models directly into Fusion, allows you to inject whatever you may be working on in the back-end, whatever models that you might be developing, and get them into a specific system that's already scalable, right? So in short, you can quickly productionize your models and iterate faster without having to think about all of the nuts and bolts that might have to go into productionizing or scaling a model, right? We've already taken care of all of that for you. So with all of that said, right, let's move on to things that you could potentially turn on right away once you get to Fusion 5. Right. So today we want to focus on some pains and problems that our customers have already solved by making the move to Fusion 5, as well as maybe a taste of some of the experiences that they've created. Right. And working with our customer success team, those customers who have upgraded to Fusion 5 are tracking their business goals in measurable KPIs. So this not only allows them to justify their investment in Fusion to their stakeholders, but it also demonstrates their mindset and commitment to solving pain points for not only themselves, but their users. And these KPIs also allow us as a product team to continuously develop the right things for our customer. Right, so this particular segment is going to cover two specific solutions which have impacted our customers' bottom line and really are large cornerstones of our roadmap going forward. So the first is semantic vector search. Right, so how do we define what semantic search is? Right, this term is kind of a buzzword and it has a lot of different definitions out of it. So I'm going to try to define it to what we believe it is. Right, so semantic search itself can hopefully most simply be defined as searching with meaning, right? So you're already probably familiar with keyword search, right, or lexical search, which is, pretty standard from any search offering out there, right? Obviously within Fusion, we offer standard keyword search, right? And in standard keyword search, the search engine looks for literal or linguistic variants, such as synonym matches, maybe some stop words and things like that. And it may also utilize things like signals to affect ranking. But with Fusion 5, semantic search represents a specific subset of queries that are submitted potentially in natural voice. And it can also distinguish what that user intent is, right? In a lot of classic cases, search engineers potentially have tackled this issue of semantic search with things like rich and complex ontologies, right? That's another potential method of solving it. However, at LucidWorks, we have chosen to utilize a deep learning model which produces what we call dense vector representation of words to solve the problem of understanding users, i.e. semantic vector search. So how does this all work? I've just threw a lot of terms out there. Why is it beneficial? Right? So if you commonly have long queries written in natural language, or potentially you're going to look at eliminating things like zero result searches, semantic vector search is a perfect partner to what Fusion already offers in keyword search. Semantic search is responsible for identifying similarities in the user's request and query, the intent and sentiment, and then comparing all of this to content in the index, which is already stored uniquely as vectors, right? So in other words, rather than interpreting queries in the classic sense, which would be by language and keywords, semantic vector search transforms the words in a query into numbers, or more accurately, vectors, and then it computes that ranking and relevancy by comparing the similarities of vectors within the index. So to simplify it hopefully a little bit even more, there's just a lot of math going on, right? So let's take an example, right? So something in action could be a user searching for something like vacation schedule, right? However, you know, if you look at a vacation schedule document, it's usually pretty simple, right? And there's not a lot of keywords as part of it, right? And often maybe your HR department decided that, hey, holiday is actually the keyword we're going to use as opposed to vacation, right? So you may tend to miss out on some specific documents because, you know, either their lack of keywords or there just may not be enough to bring that document back, right? So because vacation and holiday are closely related, semantic vector search would actually be able to figure that out from a similarity perspective and then give back the document holiday schedule. Another example could be a commerce user also searching for a product. Let's use the example up top, salmon. There are many problem areas where semantic vector search can benefit the users here. First, any typos and misspellings are typically caught, right? We're looking for similarities in words, right? So typos and misspellings are actually very easy to resolve, right? You can also do things like return similar products, right? These could be different variants of fish, perhaps salmon in other forms such as pet food, or even within items like fish oil you may not necessarily have all the information captured within your search index, right? These are all perfect applications for semantic vector search. So now that we've discussed semantic vector search and discussed similarities between keywords, let's look at some specific queries that yield a little bit more complexity as well as intent interpretation. So semantic vector search itself plays a large role in natural language search. However, there are many other features of Fusion that can also provide structure to the syntax of the query, or in this case, potentially the question that's being asked. Right, so Fusion can tag specific keywords as parts of speech, allowing these specific key terms and phrases to have a specific emphasis to the result set. Right, so this solves specific issues with things like entity recognitions or entities not being recognized and represented properly as results that are being ranked. So let's see this as an application, right? In terms of how people have been using semantic vector search, one application has been for chatbots, right? Where both semantic vector search and natural language processing are able to provide our customers who are running chatbots an intelligent fallback mechanism when the out-of-the-box chat or maybe some of the question answers or even just manual routing just falls short within the chatbot function, right? So our customers commonly utilize this to improve their chatbot, their self-service portals, and with the simple goal of greatly decreasing the amount of calls they get or their call deflection, right? This allows their support staff to service customers with higher priority issues, not common issues that have answers that should be easily found. Right? So this not only makes your existing automated chatbot smarter, it also allows you to redirect your resources, giving back both value in technology and value in your personnel. So if anything I've said has gotten you excited and you really want to get started with semantic vector search tomorrow and see what I can do for your business, Lucidworks actually has a very unique managed offering called Never Know, right? In partnering with some of our largest e-commerce customers, we delivered this service to them with one specific and simple goal in mind, right? Always show the customer something and never show nothing, right? This specific service is used to reduce or completely remove zero result searches. Most of our customers who had zero result searches ranging anywhere from 10 to 25% of their queries now see under 1%, if not 0% null searches, and they're seeing higher conversions on those searches that used to be null. So as a managed offering, we host Never Null for you as a service in our private cloud. We maintain the hardware and the software, and we maintain it to the point where we make sure that we meet your performance SLAs. Right, so if Never Know is something of interest, or if anything within what I've talked about with these last few slides can help solve your business's problems, reach out to your customer service representatives. They'll probably reach out to me, and we're happy to schedule a conversation or a demo to address any of your problems and needs. So I'm going to take a deep breath, and then let's shift gears to one of actually our core features that existed actually as early as Fusion 2, but existed also in Fusion 3 and 4. Right? And this specific feature was signals, right? Which went through substantial improvements and evolution within Fusion 5, right? So if you're not familiar with signals, or if it's not something that, we've had a lot of conversations with you prior, right? Signals is a data capture of user behavior and telemetry, which can be leveraged by Fusion, right? And it allows you to create this self-service relevancy experience, which is driven by the users that are searching on your site. Right? Understanding your users and capturing the moments that are most important to them allows you to recreate these moments where subsequent users come to your site, and it drives more productivity and purchases within whatever use case that you're trying to solve. Right? So if you haven't been capturing signals yet, or are looking to take advantage of the ones that you already have, this is the segment for you to tune in on. So signals, at its most basic function, is to automate relevancy by driving results that are most popular to users. Right? Fusion continuously learns and improves over time as it collects more and more information about user behavior. This saves your teams immeasurable amounts of time by automating the process of having to manually review things like analytics to find specific patterns. And then not only do they have to review, they also have to manually create rules that reflect these patterns. The most simple example of a signal is, what did the user search on and what result did they click on, right? These two data points are enough for Fusion to drive self-relevancy based on user interest. Of course, we can enhance signals to drive specific business results. For example, if a customer is a member of your loyalty program, you can mark signals for that customer specifically with their loyalty program ID. And you can utilize their purchase patterns to create recommendations that are uniquely tailored to their needs, right? This allows you to go and target users who are most loyal to you based off of what their search history looks like. Or for example, if a user belongs to a specific business group within your organization, you can also surface content that's specifically interesting to other users of that business group, right? Users who had come in previously within that group and combining their search history together can help each other find content that's very specific to them. So moving on, one of the main functions of signals, right, is to also extend and improve lexical search or keyword search in an automated fashion, right? So what does this mean, right? So we have multiple machine learning jobs that run in the background, and it analyzes patterns of queries, which are common for a specific document or product, right? So for example, if someone comes in and is looking for a tablet and he searches with tablet and clicks on iPad, right? Another person comes in, searches for iPad, but they also all click on the same product, right? If this pattern occurs with enough frequency, Fusion will determine that there is some synonymous relationship between iPad and tablet, and it will create what we call a rewrite rule, right? In doing this, this whole framework is called automatic rewrites or query rewrites, right? So now for future searches for iPad, we'll also expand the search to tablets as well, right? This also works potentially for the same issue that I brought up earlier with holiday schedule and vacation schedule with semantic search, right? If enough users search for holiday schedule and enough users search for vacation schedule and click on the same document, Fusion will determine that holiday and vacations are also potential synonyms. The other functions within query rewrites work very similarly, right? The phrase detection rewrite job, for example, and the misspelling rewrite job work similarly to synonyms, right? If people misspell words and they click on the same product, and there are very similar words that are spelled correctly, then we will automatically make that expansion to allow misspelled words and words that are spelled correctly to also match up and return that product. Right? Phrase detection potentially is even more important, right? This allows you to figure out which phrases are most commonly used in order to find products, right? This allows you to expand things like poorly performing queries with additional terms, and it also allows you to potentially utilize our natural language processing and entity extraction to take the data that already exists within your system and do unique things like boost specific phrases or create specific phrases that are commonly searched on by your users, right? Our goal here is very simple. It is to automate the improvement of queries which are not receiving a lot of click-through traffic, right? This allows you to be able to automate this whole process without having to look at, oh, which one of my queries are underperforming, for example, right? We can already do that all for you. So being able to leverage all of this, your query rewrites, gives us another solution for intent detection, right? I already used the example of phrase detection, right? Can detect when someone is searching for a dress shirt versus a shirt dress, right? Whether there's quite a large difference between both products, right? And the biggest is simply what was the intent of the user, right? This all can be also combined with semantic search and named entity recognition, and it creates this whole full relevancy stack, right, that not only leverages user intent and natural language, but also combines user behavior and common actions. So you might be wondering, okay, I've just talked a lot about automation. Do I get any control over this as a business user? And the answer is yes. Right, with the release of Fusion 5, we also released a business-friendly drag-and-drop tool called Predictive Merchandiser, which is geared towards optimizing experiences for your search user. Right, this tool is also known as Experience Optimizers to our knowledge management customers. Right, here you will find the ability to create your basic pin, boost, blockberry for search results, as well as the ability to create things like templates and zones for your pages. Maybe in some cases, most importantly, this tool gives the business users the final editorial control over things like query rewrites, right? You know, our machine learning will spit out all the query rewrites that it finds and will put them into a business UI, and business users will have the ability to either approve or deny what is generated from Fusion's machine learning. Right. This is a unique differentiator for Lucidworks as it allows the front-end business and the back-end data scientists to work together to create and promote the correct machine learning output, all of this with your user experience in mind. So way back at the beginning of this webinar now, I mentioned that Fusion 5 was our vision of everything that happened before, right? And the transformation that our product now is heavily based on not only search, but also machine learning, right? In equal parts to getting machine learning scalable and productionized, right? Our transformation of moving to Fusion 5 was also to make it a cloud-ready product, right? So what does this mean for you specifically, and even for us, right? In doing this, we wanted a product that would be able to provide solutions for our customers, right? This is, you know, kind of the key to everything that we have done, which is we want to make sure that you can churn out solutions as fast as possible, right? But we also want to reduce a lot of the friction that came from scaling and hosting and upgrading Fusion, right? So our engineers took Fusion and broke it apart. And we recreated Fusion utilizing a microservice-based architecture, right? So in doing all of this, we followed all of the guidelines and practices which allow us to now fully orchestrate Fusion and orchestrate all parts of Fusion in individual containers, which allows our customers to host Fusion in a standardized cloud fashion, right? And this can be now driven by high uptime through public cloud providers and Kubernetes. So why kind of do all of this, right? And some of this may be a little bit more technical, so I will try to move through this for the business users on the front end. But why is this important, right? So microservices themselves allow us and allow you as a customer to move faster, right? So if I look at our entire customer base that's on Fusion 4 and below, everyone's deployed on different things, right? They're deployed maybe in the cloud, they're deployed on-prem, people are running different types of deployments, completely different, very difficult to manage, right? But because now Fusion can now be deployed in a standardized orchestration environment, right? Your upgrades are now as simple as referencing the latest builds in your cloud configurations, right? You just have to point them to what our latest builds are as well. And your cloud providers through Kubernetes will upgrade that for you. Right? So this allows you to take advantage of the latest and greatest within our product without compromising your ability to deliver or even your budget to run a complex migration. Right? Once you're on Fusion 5, it gets very simple. With all of your standard cloud providers, Google, Amazon, or Microsoft, you can also auto-scale your deployment of Fusion, right? Do you need more capacity to run queries? No problem. You can just spin up more compute for those specific services, right? Do you want to auto scale based off of traffic that's coming? Great. You can set up rules and ensure that you have enough compute overhead on standby, right? This whole modern DevOps model allows Fusion to be more quick and agile, not just for you, but for us, and respond to your business's operational needs. So there are two common ways to deploy Fusion 5, right? One is self-hosted, right? So this is going to be in one of those cloud services that I mentioned before, or we do have a couple approved on-prem vendors as well for those who want to deploy behind a firewall, right? For those who have deployed within the private cloud, right? This is probably pretty familiar with you, right? You spun up your virtual machines, and in Fusion 5, the only difference is you have to run, things with container orchestration, right? So there's a little bit of a difference in how you're doing things today versus how you'll need to do things in the future. Now, if that's too much to swallow for you and you don't want to even have to run or manage all of the ops of running Fusion, let us do it, right? Our managed service is hosted by Lucidworks and is actually uniquely a single tenant to you as a customer, right? So it's not a multi-tenant solution. We host it in our private cloud in your own individualized project, right? So you don't share any hardware or storage with any of our other customers who are running a service, right? We offer this as a 99.9% SLA service, right? And we've actually, I just found out, also released a 99.99 or 4 nines offering to those with lower tolerances to downtime. So with self-hosted Fusion, if you're ready to take that next step, right, Lucidworks will support your deployment like any other Fusion deployment that you're used to, right, 24/7, 365, right? In doing so, you will take advantage of our latest technology for application hosting ops in the cloud, right? You get the same things you might with our managed solution. You can upgrade when you want. You run your own ops, right? And it does it within a standardized environment that we support as well. For managed Fusion, right? So we do this for many of our customers today, right? Both knowledge management and e-commerce. Right. I think we're particularly proud. Last Black Friday, we were responsible for serving and delivering over 3 billion queries of the span of that 4-day online shopping frenzy from Friday to Monday. Right. Again, this is hosted and managed by Lucidworks, in which we guarantee uptime exactly like every other cloud service out there. Right. You, as a managed Fusion customer, will be able to continue development in development and staging environments and promote changes to your production instance. Right, our managed team is responsible for making sure the changes that you have made do not bring down the instance, because we are responsible for maintaining that SLA. Right? Business users, on the other hand, can also take advantage of tooling such as Predictive Merchandiser directly in production and make immediate changes to their search experience and then promote those to their users. So when it comes down to it, right, what's the bottom line here, right? Our goal is to make sure that you save valuable time and capital and work with us for your specific Fusion deployment, right? There's a really good chance it'll be less expensive for us to do it for you than for you to either have to continue to grow your DevOps team or hire more people potentially in order to run the system, right? And even some of the folks who are really familiar with Fusion, who spend a lot of time, maybe doing some of the ops perspective, can really focus in on developing more features, right? So this allows you to focus on constantly decreasing your time to value, right? It enables you to quickly and effortlessly spin up all of the capabilities that I've mentioned so far within our advanced machine learning, semantic vector search, AI-driven recommendations in your cloud cluster, right? Without the need for anything specialized or time-intensive or manual deployment that you're used to seeing in Fusion 4, right? Whether you self-host it or whether, we host it for you, right? We want you to be able to develop and have more time to create experiences for your customers, right? So with that, I hand things back over to Tom. So I appreciate your time and attention during my presentation today, and most likely I'll speak with you again once I take a look at some of the questions. So thank you very much. Tom, back to you.
Great, thank you, William, and thank you for a very insightful presentation today. It's really some good stuff. So what I want to do now is I want to talk a little bit about the use cases that most of our customers use Fusion for today and what the potential business impact could be for you. Let's start off with those customers that are commerce-related customers. Some of the problems that you face with existing systems like the earlier versions of Fusion is because of the lack of signals that you gather. You can't get systems to really understand completely the full shopper intent. And the other one is in the area of zero results. And we all know what zero results do. They have a tendency to drive higher bounce rates, which means a decline in sales conversion. Well, with Fusion 5 and our advanced signals capability and our advanced machine learning and deep learning tools, you're able to really understand more clearly the user's natural language, in the user's natural language, the intent, and therefore help them to better find more relevant information when they do reach out and search. The other one is in the area of zero results. This is a really recent addition to our Fusion 5 product. And the zero results, we call this never null as part of our solution. This has been an area where we've had some tremendous benefit. In fact, with the semantic vector search deep learning models that we use here, we've been able to help some customers. In the case of one of our customers, which is one of the large big box retailer, increase revenue by 8 digits to the left of the decimal. So a significant increase in revenue from using Never Null as part of their implementation of Fusion 5. The next one has to do with service. Whether you're an agent or a field technician, ticket resolution is always a challenge. The process can take too long because you're searching for information that across disparate silos, and then the other thing is the chatbots don't completely convey the answers that the clients or the customers need. So here in this case, with our conversational apps, the ability to interpret national language and uncover, the intent to answer the questions quickly and concisely has a dramatic impact in not only customer satisfaction, but improvement in employee productivity and agent effectiveness as well. Then lastly, in the area of workplace or knowledge management, data and resources are siloed typically and take too long to find the right answer. By using the machine learning models that we've developed and advanced over the years in Fusion 5, I want to point out that we've been working with machine learning now with Fusion going back to Fusion 2, and we've continued to build and improve those models. So we have some very sophisticated models now that can help you take full advantage of Fusion in a way that helps empower your users to be more productive and increase revenue across the board. So whether you're a commerce customer, a service customer, a workplace customer, there are some distinct advantages of using Fusion 5 for you, and we would welcome the opportunity to talk to you further about that after this webinar. So that, in summary, is our discussion about Fusion 5 for our customers. Let's kind of summarize with some of the key reasons why you want to upgrade. First off, the innovation to match the search trends is there. As I mentioned before, the number of machine learning models, advanced machine learning models like the semantic vector search is very unique in the marketplace today. Automation through all of those advanced AL and ML capabilities gives you the ability to do more with less. As William pointed out earlier, Predictive Merchandiser is a tool that makes it easier for business users control what they're doing. Merchandisers, product managers can very easily do things like pin, boost, bury, different things that they want within the UI without any IT involvement, which has a dramatic impact not only on productivity and efficiency, but top-line results as well. It is cloud ready. Whether you want to run this within your own private cloud, we have Fusion 5 available on the Google Cloud Marketplace. So if you're a Google Cloud customer and you wish to use Fusion 5 within your Google Cloud environment, you can easily do that. And if you want us to manage it for you, we can work with you to show you what the cost benefit would be to having us manage it, take that kind of opportunity to make it work for you without having to incur costs on your end. And we guarantee SLAs, whether it's a 99.9 or a 4 nines. And obviously the last one is we believe you will see a superior ROI with Fusion 5 over older versions of Fusion. So those are some of the benefits. We welcome the opportunity, as I said, to speak to you directly about that. And why don't we go ahead and start off with Q&A? And what I'd like to ask is that if you have any questions, please go ahead and submit them in the Q&A, and we will make sure one of our people that are on here today can answer that question. Why don't we go with, while we're waiting for people to put those in, why don't we go with the first question, which is, who should I contact if we're interested in moving to Fusion 5? Well, you can contact us through our website, where you can go to contact us and we'll get back to you, or you hopefully know who your customer success manager is. You can ask your customer success manager to get involved. And if that doesn't work, you can always reach out to me directly. It's Tom Aliotti, and my email is tom.aliotti, ALIOTTI, @lucidworks.com, and we'll make sure someone follows up with you. The next question I see here is, what does the Fusion 5 migration process look like? William, can you help us with that question?
Yeah, Tom, certainly. So similar to what Tom said, right? The whole migration process always kicks off with your customer success representative, or potentially they will potentially bring in myself and our professional services team, maybe even Tom, to have a conversation with you, right? Our goals to try to find out essentially what you want to do, right? If there's any new features that you're really looking to leverage in Fusion 5, and two, what can we do in order to get you migrated as fast as possible, right? So most migrations themselves are fairly straightforward, especially if you're on Fusion 4, right? Professional services team and our migrations team can quickly deduce the level of effort by reviewing an export of your current Fusion configs, right? So if you're self-hosting Fusion 5, for example, right, we'll work with you to determine, how much compute and memory should you procure, what your virtual machine should look like, how much do you need to run Fusion, right? And if you're going with our managed Fusion offering, obviously we'll take care of all of the compute and memory for you, right? The big concern usually is security, right? So, we'll be happy to discuss any implication of security with your security teams on the line, right? So once that's all taken care of, you've got Fusion 5 up and running, right? It's a matter of getting your configurations and your data migrated, right? So, if you, for example, connect to a user interface, right, then to serve out your search results, then you'll need to update that, right, to point to potentially new APIs, right, which either are in the cloud with managed Fusion or, potentially self-hosted by your team. Right. So there's potentially more, there's going to definitely be more details coming out, hopefully maybe a white paper for that migration process soon. So keep an eye out on that, especially as we get closer to Activate.
Great, thank you, William. We have one more question here in the Q&A. If you have any questions, please, this is a good time to enter the question. The last question I have thus far is, and I think you probably may have answered part of it already, William, but let's go with this. Is they say, can we migrate our data in Fusion 4 to the cloud? So I think you might answer that, but go ahead and take a stab at that one as well.
Yeah, partially answer that, right? If I want to get a little deeper, right? So let's keep it let's start with the short answer, right? Which is yes, right? The data that you currently have in Fusion 4, right? Whether it's your content, your signals, etc., right? Those can all be, packaged up and moved directly to the cloud, right? Same with most of your Fusion configurations, right? So a longer answer here, though, right? That even though we've done this initial migration, right, you still have to keep your data fresh, right? Which means that we'll have to make sure that all the connectors that we're working on-prem are also working in the cloud, right? So in some cases, right, it may just make sense rather than going through the whole process of packaging and then moving the data up, right? It just may make sense to just utilize connectors to re-index the data as a whole and then rebuild the index from scratch, right? There are a lot of times where some of our customers are like, yeah, we might have made a few mistakes here or there while we're, setting up our index. So let's just start from scratch and it won't take us long to get back up there, right? So that way you just ensure that not only do you have the latest and greatest in terms of your data, right, that your connectors are also all fully functional and they're all doing what they're supposed to in terms of refreshing the data as new deltas start to come in. So hopefully that would answer your question.
Great. Thank you, William. We have one other question, and that question is, what are your customers using for presentation and integration layers with your Fusion 5 Cloud SaaS offering? William?
Yeah, this is a great question. I would say in terms of the majority of our Fusion 5 managed, I would say our Fusion 5 Cloud SaaS offering, right? Most of our customers essentially utilize us as a headless service, right? So they've got, their UIs, et cetera, that are responsible for, sending queries and then getting them back, right? So that's the majority of the majority of our customers, right? We do have a few customers who are utilizing, some of our UI technologies. We're actually in the process of retiring App Studio, and we're re-rolling out some new UI functionality, right, for presentation layers for our customers. Couple reasons for that. One, we want to make sure, App Studio was very much an on-premise UI presentation layer, right? And to port that to the cloud would have been a lot of effort in terms of rewriting how it all works. And a big part of that is security behind that, right? And within the cloud, we want to make sure, for the most part, right, that most of our customers who are utilizing cloud and want to make sure that their UIs are secure, right, most likely are going to utilize things like Okta or any other SSO provider, right? And we want to make sure that we're following the best practice protocols from a security perspective there. So definitely keep an eye out for what's coming there. I know for some of you guys, it's probably sad that App Studio potentially will get sunset as we kind of fully move out to the cloud, but it's a good move for us in terms of making sure that all of our customers are very secure in terms of their UI security as well.
Okay, we have one more question here, and I think I'll try to address it. Fusion 3 was rolled out in 2017, Fusion 4 in 2018, Fusion 5 in 2019. If you have Fusion 6 right after a customer is onboarded with Fusion 5, what is the upgrade option? All versions seem to be better than previous one, and it's been 2 years since Fusion 5. So actually, right now with Fusion 5, it was launched in late 2019, and we're now on the 5.3 release, and 5.4 will be coming out in the next couple of months. It has continued to improve. We feel it's become a very mature product release. And I actually, to be honest with you, can't really tell you when Fusion 6 or what the upgrade option will be, but we certainly would make sure everybody's aware of that soon. The good news is it will be much easier than going from 3 to 4 or 3 to 5 or 4 to 5, because in both cases it will be microservices based and cloud native. So that will make it a much easier process going forward. The other thing which I would point out is that if you do decide to move to Fusion 5 managed, the opportunity there is that we do all of that upgrade for you. You don't have to deal with it anymore. And so you're always going to have the latest and greatest. So if you are interested in moving to 5, I would encourage you to explore with the team what option and cost would be associated with us managing the environment for you. Okay, I think we've got all the questions that we have answered, and we're just about out of time. So I'd like to thank everyone for your participation today. And as we mentioned earlier, we will have this recording in the presentation available a little later on today. And of course, if you have any questions, whether you have some that we didn't get a chance to answer or come up with some later, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. Again, thank you, and have a good rest of your day.